Welcome in to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to have an interesting show today. Today, there's lots of talk across the country about we've got this matchup and we've got that matchup. Today is also an anniversary day. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is that today, 14 years ago, one of the biggest upsets in college football history happened 14 years ago. And I got to take you to a place. This is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where you have App State that is a, 33-point underdog. Now, this is a monumental underdog. Think about that for a minute. That's almost a 5-touchdown underdog. And Appalachian State goes up to Michigan. And this is one of those games that, I watched and, I remember where I was. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, I am pretty much in the same spot that I am in right now. What I mean by that is that I was working with our best Gamecock coverage across the hall, and I stepped into this room because that was a spot. This is a spot where we had basically some space. We had an extra TV on in here. We have TVs in there, and we got TVs going all the time during the Gamecock coverage. But I remember standing here and looking at the TV that's up to my left, and I'm like, why the hell is the Michigan App State game on? No one cares about that game. And then I look at the score, and I'm like, what's wrong with Michigan? If you remember, they had Mike Hart and all those guys. I mean, they were loaded. And then I'm standing here, and I remember looking up and thinking, okay, I'm going to watch some of this. So I'm producing things from afar. I got all kinds of things going on game day. I really am an octopus on game day. But I remember this play and how I just stood there with my mouth open like I saw just one of the most amazing things ever.
Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history. Blocked by Corey Lynch.
Yeah, you could still go up in Boone and get a T-shirt, hey, we beat Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. What a great, feel-good moment. I mean, if you're a fan of Michigan, it sucked. I'm sure that people still mock Michigan till the end of time. But to think about Appalachian State and the guys that were out there playing, I think Armani Edwards was their quarterback. He ended up going to getting drafted by the Panthers, played a little bit in the NFL. But a lot of those guys, that was the high point of their football career, is going into the big house, basically opening week. I think it was opening week. And sending 107,000 people home with an L. There were maybe 50 App State fans there. In my opinion, one of the coolest moments in college sports. So I started doing some research today, and I found some other matchups that kind of may stick in your head a little bit. In 2017, UNLV was a 45-point favorite in their matchup with Howard and HBCU. And Howard wins that game 43-40. Their quarterback was Kalen Newton, the brother of NFL star Cam Newton. 330 yards and 3 scores in that win. That's something that I didn't catch that game, but I remember reading about it. Here's another one. Florida State in 2015, they reached the college football playoff in 2014, started 2015 at 6-0, and held a 25-game regular season winning streak over ACC teams. Georgia Tech was not really that well thought of, but Georgia Tech wins this matchup 22-16 in 2015. Georgia Tech is kind of tailed off since then, but still a mess. Another couple of matchups here. Old Dominion and Virginia Tech. That is on the list as well. The 2018 Virginia Tech Hokies took a 7-0 lead on Stephen Peoples' 87-yard run, and it seemed like it was going to be the way that it always was, but Old Dominion wins 49-35. That was in 2018. The Citadel winning over South Carolina 23-22. I don't really consider that far-fetched not because of it's an SEC team and a SoCon team, but I just don't think that that South Carolina team was completely with it, to be honest with you. You've also got this matchup. Georgia Southern wins over Florida 26-20. Good old Will Muschamp. He got beat by a team that didn't complete a pass. Think about that. They only threw the ball 3 times, didn't complete any of them. Will Muschamp got beat by a team, an FCS team, that did not complete a pass. And what does he win, ladies and gentlemen? Well, you get to leave Florida and go to South Carolina after you have a overnight stay at Auburn. Must be great to be Will Muschamp. Then you get to leave South Carolina and go work for Kirby Smart. Analyze the coaches there, Will. Analyze the coaches. Yeah, that's... Oh, we need you to come down and run the special teams. What a gong show. Then you've got in 2017, Iowa winning 55-24 over Ohio State. I don't remember that game. It does say that JT Barrett threw 4 interceptions. Urban Meyer says, we just didn't play very well. Really? That's pretty much what it boiled down to. Troy over LSU in 2017, 24-21. The Trojans were a 21-point underdog in Death Valley, forced a fumble on LSU's first offensive snap and scored a quick touchdown. Took a 10-0 lead into the half. Man, can you imagine being up 10-0 at the half down there in the land of the Cajuns? How's that coming out for you? What a mess. And by the way, LSU paid Troy $985,000 to come hand them an L. UCF winning over Louisville in 2013. I don't remember that matchup. Really don't. James Madison beating Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is on the list twice. Oof. I don't remember this matchup with James Madison either. Iowa State winning over Oklahoma State 37-31. That's on this list. Joseph Ramble fumbled. 3 and out. Brandon Whedon threw an interception, punt, and late in the fourth quarter, Quinn Sharp missed a potential go-ahead 37-yard field goal. When that happens, yeah, it's a mess. Some other matchups that were big as far as point spread upsets. We mentioned Howard earlier. Stanford over the Trojans. They were plus 40.5. Wow, that's interesting. The Temple Owls plus 35.5 over Virginia Tech. Yeah, some of that stuff there. If you have an upset that you remember, you want to share, give us a call at 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, Ron. You bash everybody, but you won't bash South Carolina.
Hold on now. I said South Carolina had that disappointing loss to the Citadel, but do you really think that team actually cared?
Well, y'all lost so much, so it don't make a difference.
Okay.
That's right. You lay off my Gators.
What do you mean about your Gators? Look, you hired Will Muschamp down there. You ended up losing.
We fired him, too.
Yeah, you were smart enough to fire him. I'll give you that. But, I mean, he ran all the talent off, put your offense in the Stone Ages. And how do you get beat by a team that doesn't complete a pass? Only Will Muschamp can tell us that. Exactly.
We had Will Muschamp.
I agree with you on that, sir. Very good point there.
Hey, we didn't keep him around for 4 years like y'all did.
Well, I didn't keep anybody around. I don't
get come on. You know what I'm saying. You're the Gamecock fan.
No,
so it is what it is.
I don't think so on that, sir. Good effort there. Let me ask you about your Gators, though. Are
Yeah, go ahead.
you guys going to get it together this year? Is your quarterback going to be worth a salt or not?
We're gonna be okay. He been in the system. He's been in the system 3-4 years. He'll be okay.
What do you think about your coach's wife kissing all the players when they come off the bus?
Oh, that's last year. Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Well, I mean,
We ain't going back on that.
That's what happens.
No. That just. Hey, come on. We ain't going. I'm not gonna touch that.
Well, it was a simple question.
I'm not gonna touch that.
I've got Georgia fans calling up. One Georgia fan called up yesterday and said I had issue with fats and carbohydrates. I can't ask you about.
I heard him.
I can't ask you about the fact that
you
the
got
coach's
those
wife's making
Georgia
out with the players.
Let me tell you about those Georgia fans.
All
They
right,
cannot take it. They can't take it.
What can't they
It is
take?
what it is. They cannot take it. They still. Ugg is still in the St. Johns River from last year. So it is what it is.
Well, yeah, I guess as a Florida fan, you have to say that, but I had to ask you about that. Does that bother you as a Florida fan?
But I will take Georgia over Clemson.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that works out. We'll know this weekend.
Oh yeah, they'll take them.
You think so?
Trevor gone. Remember that Trevor Lawrence is gone.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you calling us, buddy. Thank you so much. Let's go out of the phone. Back out of the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob.
Hey,
this guy that just called, man. He thinks you're a Gamecock fan, and I need to let him know you got that. As far as I know, you got a Clemson tattoo paw on your body.
I don't have a Clemson tattoo paw, but that is pretty funny. The whole thing that got me with that though is when we asked him about the coach's wife kissing the players, he wanted to backstep like he was moonwalking like Michael Jackson. We have that on tape. That happens every game. It's just kind of weird.
Right.
Weird.
But yeah, I thought you told me you had a Clemson tattoo.
No, sir, I don't.
Oh, but you are a Clemson fan, right?
I am a fan of no one. I cover every team in the conference.
Okay, buddy.
SEC. Yep.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I do have a Coast Guard tattoo. I got a tattoo of my daughters on my arm.
Well, thanks for serving. I'm a Navy guy.
Well, there you go. I was afraid that I would drown. That's why I went in the Coast Guard.
I swim like a fish, Rob.
I'm sure you do. Hey, thanks for calling the show, man. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Later.
All right. Well, Georgia fans get upset. The Florida fans get upset when you ask them about Coach Mullen's wife doing all that. They don't like that. I don't understand why. If you're a fan of that, I don't understand why you get upset about that. What a mess. 803-978-1832, looking over some of the greatest upsets in college football history. The Temple Owls winning over Virginia Tech in October of 1998. They were a 35.5-point favorite. The Texas Bobcats over the Houston Cougars. Texas State Bobcats over the Houston Cougars in 2012. They were 35-point underdogs. Some of these, I don't even remember. And I remember, and I was working on all kind of stuff here. C-Row Online wants to know if I have any intel on the Justin Ross foot injury. No. I don't have anything that hasn't been put out there yet. I know that, he, according to Coach Sweeney, he was running around and doing fine from the latest press conference. So we'll have to see. If Justin Ross is injured with his foot, then that is no good for Clemson at all. So there's that. But I will send a couple of texts during the break and see what I can come up with. But I haven't really heard anything on that front. The only thing I've learned today is that when you mention Coach Mullen's wife kissing players to a Florida fan, they turn into Michael Jackson really, really quick. Start moonwalking like crazy. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon. We're, of course, talking about the great upsets. If you want to get your picks out here, my picks are coming up on Friday. There is one matchup tonight, Jacksonville State and UAB. Jacksonville State, of course, that is where Deion Sanders is coaching. UAB is the program that Alabama tried to silently cut the throat up that people seem to forget about. Those two will match up tonight. UAB is a 16.5-point favorite in that game. If you want to place your wager on that, my simulator says that UAB will cover. My computer simulation says that. Computer last year was at like 54% on the season. So anyway, Allen says Dabo Sweeney said he might rotate centers on Saturday. Yeah, he did say they would run two different centers out there. But the other thing is that there are sets of the rotation where you could have two freshmen on the offensive line going side by side there. And the one area of concern for Clemson in that matchup is that Georgia defensive line is really good. I think they've been one of the best against the run for the past couple of seasons. And I think that running the ball is going to be difficult for Clemson. You also have to think about the idea of if you have a freshman that makes a mistake, could DJ Uiagalelei end up on his back? Quarterbacks that play under duress don't play well. Doesn't really matter who they are. They just don't play well. And I think that's going to be one of the keys there. You know, Coach Sweeney was talking a little bit about that yesterday, that Georgia wants to control the run, and then they want to run the football and lots of play action passes and things like that. I don't know if they have the receiving core to be as effective as they want to be in this matchup. Now, I'm sure that we've already heard from Georgia fans, we've lost 17,000 5-stars, and we should have them for this game, and it's just going to affect us. Look, we're going to talk about what you do have. Without those guys there, you don't have the rotation that you want. Okay? Simple as that. With Clemson, though, they've got guys that are playing at other schools. So, you know, little things like that are for both teams. You roll with what you got. We'll take your call at 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. Megan says the one area, really, yes. I respect the Georgia defensive line, sir. You have a problem with me respecting the Georgia defensive line? Or are you going to call up and tell me JT Daniels is he walks on water, and your running backs, they walk on water? And, you know, I mean, that's just typical for the Georgia folks. We have everything that's better. Yeah, you can't win all the time. But your defensive line is, I think, one of the best in the country. In fact, I venture to say, I don't think either team is going to have some issues. I think both teams are going to have issues running the ball on Saturday night. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll take your calls at 803-978-1832 if you want to talk about the biggest upset you remember. Also, Coach's Hot Seat today. Who is on it? Yeah, heading into the season. We'll talk about that and a lot more in just a moment. You're listening to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Megan, you're crazy, man. I say one nice thing about Georgia, and you're like, but you forgot our 8th-string punter was the most awesome thing ever. This is what I don't like about Georgia fans, man. You have to be constantly reminded that you're the prettiest girl in the room. You want to know what you are, though? You're Jennifer Aniston. That's what you are. Everybody knows Jennifer Aniston's like this hot woman, voted one of the sexiest women on the planet. Yeah, you could say that about the Georgia roster. Looks great, top to bottom. What happens, though, when Jennifer Aniston gets into a relationship? I think she has issues with some kind of odor, or she's just rude. One or the other. It's the same thing with Georgia. You look great on the surface. Everything's beautiful. Rubber meets the road, not so much. You're the Jennifer Aniston of college football. Can't say that on the air.
They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2073. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today and call 800-575-2073. That's 800-575-2073. Or you can visit us online at tra.com.
Jennifer Aniston is hot. What are you talking about, Jerome? Come on, man. That's funny. You're probably right, though. Welcome back to the Rundown. Out to the phones we go. 803-978-1832. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Rob, it's Megan.
Hey, buddy. How are you? I'm just counting my carbs and checking some facts today. How are you, man?
I tell you what, if you could avoid carbs the way that you avoid facts, you'd be doing well. Listen, apparently you don't understand how this whole thing works here.
What are we talking about working, sir? So I'll make sure that I'm on the same page.
You remind me of that one local drunk who walks into that local bar every Saturday night only to get absolutely beaten down at 2 a.m. by someone else in the bar every single weekend because you just can't keep that trap shut.
No, I can't.
It's embarrassing,
I
Rob.
can't keep my mouth shut, but I haven't been knocked out in years, so it's not every week, but it's probably every 7 years I probably get knocked out once or twice. But to be honest, I think as a man, you have to get knocked out so you know what it feels like. That's how you learn to shut up.
Yeah, well, plan on getting knocked out in a few days here.
Okay.
Maybe not literally, but you know what I mean. When Kirby Smart pulls out that big stick and beats you like a pinata, you're going to understand what it feels like to get knocked out.
What's he going to beat me with? Because if I go back and listen to your calls, you basically said you've lost the Dallas Cowboys that are all sitting out for your team this weekend, man. Your words, not mine.
So this dumb coach who hired this even dumber coach, Will Muschamp.
Okay, so
what's
hold on.
it going to feel like?
Are you going to defend Will Muschamp? Because this will be great.
He is now the special teams coach. Guess what? We are scoring on special teams against you Saturday.
Please don't say that. This show's recorded. People are going to hear it over and over and over again. Don't do that to yourself.
That only works in my favor, sir. Let me ask you something. You mentioned something yesterday about having a colleague who is now a preacher, and that's the best news I could possibly hear.
Yep.
Sir, please keep him on speed dial. Come Sunday morning, you're going to need a new soul because Kirby Smart is going to reach into your body and rip the old one out of you, sir.
I don't get that upset about a football game, but if Kirby Smart wins big over Clemson, I will give him props on Monday. How does that sound?
You know, I was joking kind of half-heartedly about that 21-point thing here most of the offseason. Sir, I'm back on it. I look back. The last time that we faced Dabo Swinney, we beat him by 24 points, and that's when we had a stooge as a head coach.
It wasn't with the idiot that you've got as a coach now. It was actually with a good coach, but go ahead.
That coach was horrible. Check I tell you what, check Kirby's record versus his so far. It ain't even close, sir. You don't see, there's the fact things coming in again. You avoid them at all costs. If you could do that with carbs, you'd be set.
You might be right about the carbs thing. I'm working on it, though. I want to work out.
Let me tell you something else. You mentioned working out. I hope there's not much time left between now and Saturday.
Sure.
But if you'll get some lower back work in, that would greatly benefit you because the weight of that giant L that you're going to have to carry for the next few months, I don't think you understand the stamina and the strength it's going to take to bear that thing. But it's coming Saturday, Rob.
I'm not worried about that. I'm writing down the times where you're saying all this stuff. That way on Sunday when I'm laughing hysterically as I'm putting together the imaging, that I'll know exactly where it is.
I'm glad you're writing them down. If you need someone to help you spell, hopefully there's someone there in the studio without a South Carolina education that can help you spell things accurately.
Well,
listen, I've got to go to work. I actually make the world go around, not spit nonsense like you. So I got to run, sir.
Well, you have a great day
Adios.
and good luck to you, sir. Man, he is so angry. You know what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen? And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I could yell back at him. But I think what Beggin' Megan needs is a hug. If I see Beggin' Megan, I'm going to give Beggin' Megan a hug. I mean, I won't allow him to call me Pop or anything, but I'll just let him give me a hug. I'll walk up to him and give him a nice big hug. I mean, I'm secure in my sexuality. I have no problem hugging another guy. I'll walk up and give him a great big hug, and maybe that'll make him feel a little better. We'll reenact the scene from Good Will Hunting, and I'll play Robin Williams, and I'll just hug him and tell him, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, sir. It's not your fault that Kirby Smart has top 3 talent and you couldn't win the division last year. It's not your fault. That's exactly what we'll do. So if you see Beggin' Megan out there, make sure you give him a hug, because he really, really needs it. 803-978-1832. RMF Tide says Rick's first record, his first 5 years was 50, 52, and 19. Kirby Smart was 52 and 14. Not much difference. If RMF Tide is his facts are correct, that's pretty close. They both have won 52 games. Here's the thing. I don't think Mark Richt had the number 3 rated overall offense according to 247 or roster according to 247 Sports. Just saying. 803-978-1832. Some other notes over here. Alan says, didn't Megan turn in his man card 2 weeks ago? I don't know. Got to check on that. Jordan says Megan was ready to throw in the towel last week. Huh. I think there's a section of Georgia fans that feel that way. Now let's make sure we put this out there. I'm giving you my full picks on Friday against the spread because that's what we do around here. But in the end, if Clemson fans think they're going to cakewalk through this Georgia team, it's not going to be like that. Now, is this Georgia team on the level of Ohio State last year and LSU the year before and the Alabama team that Clemson smoked in 2018? No, they're not. But they're a good football team. Back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
What's going on?
What's going on, man?
Hey, one thing I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about is, DJ in 2 games has yet to throw an interception.
That's too small of a sample size, but you're correct. He has not thrown an interception yet.
Compared to a young Trevor on his sophomore season, I think he had like 6 in the first few games or something like that.
Right. Well, sample size, but Uiagalelei played pretty well as a freshman, coming in when they needed him to, when Trevor Lawrence was out. So, he gained his bones a little bit there, I guess, but the reality is that we really don't know.
Yeah, well, I just want to throw that out there, Rob. And always enjoy the show, man.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling. And we'll have an opportunity. We'll look at some of the matchups as far as, people talk about, hey, it's going to be Daniels versus Uiagalelei, and it's really not. It's Uiagalelei versus Kirby Smart. Now, we goof on Kirby a little bit here, but he does have one of the best defensive minds of college football. Be a great defensive coordinator somewhere. It's also going to be Daniels against Venables. That's what you have to look at there. Who can scheme up the best as far as the ones that run the defense, and can the quarterbacks execute and do what they're supposed to do? That's the big deal there. Jordan says a better point is that he's thrown 117 passes and has thrown 0 INTs. He's also thrown 0 interceptable balls, according to PFF. Okay. Caden says, and DJ Law got beat by Notre Dame. Can't relate to that. All right. Clemson Dave says it is Smart's fault. He can't keep the ship on course. Caden says Venables is trash. Okay. I mean, I'm not buying into all that, but you have a right to your opinion, sir. I'm not going to lose my gizzards like other folks do just because you put your opinion out there. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I truly hope you Georgia fans actually show back up. I know some of you won't. Last season, we didn't see some Georgia fans for like a month after the loss to Florida. There were Georgia fans that were running their mouth, oh, we're going to stomp Florida. Yeah, not so much. Not so much.
Yourself a family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today. 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
I'm Alicia Helton. My daddy, Billy Helton, opened Helton's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a case of T-bone, ribeye, or New York steak?
Actually, I don't think Megan will leave. I think SEC Dog will leave. Just saying. I think he's gone. I don't have an arch enemy. I don't deal with arch enemies. So there's that. Yeah, I don't really like someone asked me about that if I had an arch enemy the other day. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't really have any arch enemies. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you guys checking out the show. As always, you can reach us at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon. And we're going to get into some picks coming up on Friday. I've got to talk about one other thing that was out there that was kind of like made me cringe just a little bit here. We're going to get into the hot seat rankings here in a second, but Scott Frost should be number one on the hot seat list after the things that have happened with Nebraska. Does everybody remember when he got hired at Nebraska? And it was this whole thing about, man, he's coming from UCF and he's done such great things at UCF. And we're going to be like, we're lucky to have him. That's kind of the vibe you got at Nebraska. It's almost like he had like a hometown discount. I'm coming home, ladies and gentlemen. I'm coming down, I'm coming back, and I'm going to bring Nebraska back to the days of old, to the days of Tommy Frazier. And, running around and doing all this stuff. And when Osborne was there and all that. let's evaluate that for a moment. I don't think the average Nebraska fan thinks, you know what, we could be the best team in college football once again. I don't think they think that. But I do think that they should want to be respectable. And as Blake says online, Scott Frost is 12-21 in his tenure there. We goof back and forth about Kirby Smart and how, we can't get over the top, but the guy wins games. Wins a lot of games. Now, granted, he's got a lot more talent than what Nebraska has. Georgia is a much better program than Nebraska is. But to be respectable, you think that Nebraska would be on board with that. And they're not. Just right now, they're just not very good. He should be in the mix there to be one of the first coaches that are gone, in my opinion, as far as the coach's hot seat goes. Edwin, one of my favorite commenters online, appreciate him taking some time to join us today. Edwin is in his 70s, but loves this show. Thanks for joining the show today, Edwin. Says Pelini averages 9 wins a year at Nebraska. Wasn't good enough. How is Frost going to make it? I don't think Pelini, after seeing him coach the defense at LSU last year, really has a lot. He probably didn't know what 9 wins. Oh, we won 9 games. Great. That guy is a complete goofball, man. I'm not buying the whole thing with all that. Anyway, some of the coaches that should be on the hot seat this year end up at the beginning of the season here. And I've got my list here. Let me see if I can get it pulled up from my Google Drive here, because for some reason I couldn't print the rest of my stuff today. We laugh when we can't print here at iHeart. It's like, uh-oh, do we still have a job? It's kind of funny. Anyway, some of the names on the coach's hot seat include Scott Frost. There's talk about Jeff Collins maybe being there from Georgia Tech. I think that they need to just give him some more time. And Clay Helton at Southern Cal. It almost seems like regardless of what he does, every year he's fighting to keep his job, and Southern Cal ends up being respectable pretty much every year. Some of the other names that come up on several different sites, according to my notes here, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech, Dino Babers at Syracuse. Dino Babers has to win, I think, at least 5 or 6 games this year if he plans on keeping his job up there at Syracuse. Back out to the phones we go, 803-978-1832. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man?
I want to throw in my 2 cents on this Scott Frost thing.
Sure.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm in my mid-30s and I'm old enough to remember how college football was in years back. But I still don't buy into the thing. I could care less what a coach's record is his first 5 years, especially a program in the shape that Nebraska was in.
Right.
I think this is kind of the Nick Saban effect that, so many teams are wanting to catch up and do what Alabama does. And I see it all the time as a Miami fan. They'll run coaches out quick. I think people are way too quick to pull the trigger on a coach.
So in your opinion, coaches need at least 5 seasons before you start thinking, all right, maybe this isn't working?
That really used to be the rule of thumb. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, now it's almost like it's a 3-year window. I mean, it's kind of where it's at right now. After 3 years, and now there could be things that happen at a program that, this throws off here as far as if you get sanctions and things like that. I think that should speed up the process. But, I'd have to go back and research exactly how bad the Nebraska program was. But if I remember correctly, Bo Pelini didn't leave them that bad off.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, compared to what he inherited from Tom Osborne, he left a disaster.
Yeah, well, Tom Osborne ran a heck of a program, and replacing a legend is never easy. So,
I completely agree with that. And as far as, I guess, the big subject that's still going on, I don't have a dog in this fight. Like I said, I'm a Miami fan. I do think Kirby's a top 10 coach.
Sure.
Just based off of what he's accomplished. I mean, he's accomplished as much as Lincoln Riley has, as Ryan Day has. And yes, he's made some boneheaded decisions, but he's only been a head coach for 5 years. You kind of expect that, don't you?
Yeah, you can make that argument. Speaking of which, do you think that maybe the seat's getting a little warm down there in Miami?
I mean, it may be with the fan base, but most of the fan base is stupid. I mean, this is the same fan base that still defends their decision to fly flags to fire Butch Davis, the man that created probably the greatest college football team ever, or at least in the argument for it.
Yeah, that's true too. It's funny though, because fans want to win and they want to win now. They want what happened with North Carolina, where Mac Brown comes in and they go from a 3 or 4 win team to winning 8-9 games, and that's what they want. And it's hard to spin that around. You know what I mean?
It is, but people also have to look at the fact, and I get on Miami fans about this all the time. It's not just changing your head coach. If you're changing coordinators every other year, if you're changing your assistant coaches every other year, that can be just as bad. Especially, say, for instance, if you're constantly swapping an offensive line coach, well, your offensive linemen are never going to develop because they're getting taught 3 different ways of doing things from 3 different people.
Yeah, and keeping that's one of the things that you can argue has been one of the more successful things for Clemson, is that they've kept the same coaching staff for a long period of time. So that does make a difference.
Exactly the same thing with Miami when they were on their last run. Even though Butch Davis left, they promoted Larry Coker, which I didn't think was the greatest move, but the rest of the coaching staff stayed intact.
It's just, I think every situation is completely different around the country. Some places you've got to give them time and let them do their thing. But sometimes the fan bases are just, wow, what is this?
Well, and see, I think people should take teams like Miami and Tennessee as perfect examples of what happens when you don't give coaches enough time.
Yeah. Well, you think that Tennessee should have given Jeremy Pruitt more time? Is that what you think?
Because, well, I mean, how many coaches has Tennessee had since they got rid of Fulmer? I mean, that carousel's constantly going.
Jeremy Pruitt was, I mean, the whole thing with the McDonald's bags and everything else, I mean, he kind of showed himself the door.
Well, and I'm not necessarily pointing out Jeremy Pruitt. I'm just talking about the trend over the last 15 years.
Yeah, you can make that argument too. So, and I think that the widespread thing is that the way they treated Phil Fulmer when he left the program wasn't exactly the best way to go, and then it's kind of gone downhill from there. But there are people that still say that that Butch Jones may have gotten it right, or was it? Oh man, what's not Butch Jones? The guy that had the flat top. I can't remember his name, but he's actually down in Coach Saban's coach rescue program. But they say that he probably was going to end up fixing it, but they didn't give him enough time either. So I don't know. That
was Butch Jones.
Yeah, Butch Jones,
He's the head coach at Arkansas State now.
Yeah, that's right. So I had it right. There you go. I'm working on it.
I mean, it's a possibility, maybe. But I mean, you look at Derek Dooley. That was a bad coaching hire.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, you could.
Lane Kiffin when he was young.
I think anybody hiring Lane Kiffin as a head coach is making a bad move. Where at any level of football is Lane Kiffin proven to be a good head coach?
He was okay at Florida Atlantic. I mean, you can make an argument he was okay. He wasn't terrible at Southern Cal, even though they fired him on the tarmac. Why am I defending Lane Kiffin? What's wrong with me today?
I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. I think he's a great offensive coordinator. I just don't think he's a good head coach.
Wouldn't it be like the greatest set of coordinators ever if you had Lane Kiffin as your offensive coordinator and Kirby Smart running the defense? That would be insane. Ooh. Then you just need a head coach to control both, everything else. You'd be good to go.
Yeah, and I think Kirby's great as far as defense. I think he's I think he's got to learn to leave the offense alone, which is something that, in all honesty, a lot of defensive coordinators that become head coaches have had that problem. So I think once he learns to leave that offense alone, Georgia may be fine. I agree with you. Clemson's not going to just cakewalk over them. I think that 3-point line is right on.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a very close and hard fought game.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a good one. To be honest with you, I'll be watching it after I get done watching the Alabama-Miami game.
Yeah, it's going to be some good football on Saturday, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling, buddy. Got to head to a break.
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. Thanks for calling us here this afternoon on the Rundown. We're going to take a quick break. We've got comments and a couple of other things before we get out of here today. The Wednesday edition of the Rundown on game week. I wish I had like one of those big booming voices like our big voice guy where I could be like, it's game week. I just don't have it. I just don't have it, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, when I first started in the radio, I sounded like a cat in a blender. Now I sound like a hamster in a blender. So this chunky hamster is going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up today's show here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Look at Edwin dropping stats. Solich followed Osborne, 58-19 in 6 years. Callahan, Pelini. I don't understand why they got rid of Pelini. I wish I knew more about Nebraska, but I don't. Oh, goodness. Megan, I don't want to take your welfare check. Come on, man. Send me your email address if you want to make a wager. We will do that. We can wager on something. You're not – you see, when you say score on special teams is like a field goal. And if you want me to pay you for that, it's not happening. I think Georgia can kick a field goal. That's a special teams play, sir. Butch Jones, though, if you just looked at his recruiting classes, he did pretty good. Did pretty good on that front. Yeah, Jeremy Pruitt, his will linger. I mean, they're going to be Pelini was the defensive coordinator for LSU for last season, where they had two guys that are going to get drafted in the first round of the draft as defensive backs, but had the worst passing defense in the SEC. How do you manage that? Edwin, please help me out with that. Oh, man. By the way, I'm doing like the world is all about this Clemson game this coming weekend, man. I'm doing radio interviews today with a station in DC. I'm doing something tonight with some station in Baltimore. Then I've got a station in Atlanta tomorrow. Everybody's all in on this game, man. It's crazy. I normally do interviews throughout the week, but it just seems like this week it's just been one right after another. That's not necessarily true. Lou Holtz went 1-10 his first year, 0-11 or something. Then came back and had South Carolina looking good. Final segment of the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Tomorrow I will give you my picks for the college football playoff, in addition to my picks for the ACC SEC champion. I will give you game by game for South Carolina and Clemson. I think I've got that on the list to do tomorrow. And then we've got on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, one of the coolest things of the year. It's the first set of picks against the spread. I tell you what, you should one of the things that you should bet on, the over and under for the Clemson Georgia game is at 65. I would take the over. I really like that. I think there's going to be some points scored on Saturday night. We shall see. Let's see here. They're talking about Jeremy Pruitt over in the chat room there. Show me Mo says coaches need 4 to 5 years to see the recruits and system put in. And I can agree with that. But if you end up where you have what happened with Jeremy Pruitt happening to your program, that's no good. That's no good, ladies and gentlemen. You can't have all of that. You can't be giving Ronald McDonald money away. You can't have people talking about you being the Hamburglar. That's just not going to happen. Not going to work. Jimmy says he likes Penn State and Wisconsin. That should be a good matchup. Of course, you got Miami and Alabama. That's a good matchup. The other sneaky matchup is Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana or the Ragin' Cajuns or whatever. The second best team in the Sun Belt behind your Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They will be playing Texas. Steve Sarkisian doing his thing. Got himself another head coaching job at a monster program. That's going to be one of the cool matchups on Saturday. Quick call before we leave here. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on? I was having a little fun yesterday when I called in with the whatever that Georgia caller. What's his name? Muggin something.
Sure.
What was his name?
It's
Muggin.
Begging Megan, sir.
Begging Megan. Okay, yeah. He'll be begging Saturday for us to call off the dogs. I'll tell you that. Dabo's ready for this one. That game where Clemson beat Ohio State 31-0.
Right.
After the game, there was a report on TigerNet or something where privately before the game, the coaches had expressed the opinion after watching a lot of Ohio State film that Ohio State was going to be in trouble. I kind of wish they would have relayed that information to me before the game, so I wouldn't have been so worried about it. But it's kind of like I always wish that I would know before a big game like this what the coaches really thought, because if they were really, felt like they did against that Ohio State, that game, it'd make me feel a lot better and I could worry a lot less. But, bottom line is it is just a college football game. It's not the end of the world no matter what happens. But I just hope that everything comes together and the offensive line can open up a couple of holes just to keep the defense honest. And if they can do that and get Shipley and all the other playmakers of the ball with Clemson's defense, it should be a pretty good evening. But I got to disagree with you on the total, man. I think the line's down to 50 now. I think under 50 is a lot. I think it's a lot, man. I think these defenses are so good, and it's the first game of the year. If it would be, later in the season, after the offenses got going a little bit, I would tend to think it might be over. But and I could be wrong. It could be a shootout. But I think it's going to be like a real low-scoring defensive struggle, and turnovers could definitely be a factor, and special teams as well. And I like our special teams. Anyway, I'll hang up and listen, man. Thanks.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Of course, one comment online. Do you think the Georgia defense will give up a rushing touchdown? I don't know. We'll have to see on that. That's going to be one of the interesting things on Saturday. All right, we're going to take like a 24-hour break here. We're going to give it over to Lawton Swan.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
The czar of Clemson sports. He will take you home this afternoon right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Podcast up at 5 o'clock. Blog page updated daily. All kinds of great information there. FoxSportsRadio1400.com. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. We shall see you tomorrow. You guys are awesome. New Rob and Kale show tonight. Make sure you get in the contest. We'll see you guys later on.